Love Thy Neighbor is a name that, to many of you, may very well bring back vivid memories of a different time in television history. First aired in 1972 on ITV, this British sitcom became infamous for its approach to race relations. The series starred Jack Smethurst as Eddie Booth and Rudolph Walker as Bill Reynolds, neighbors who couldn't see eye to eye, mainly due to racial prejudices. Over the course of its 7 seasons, the show explored the tensions and misunderstandings between them until it concluded in 1976. Facts vs. UK presents Love Thy Neighbor ended 50 years ago. Today, the controversy continues. The epitome of racist sitcoms. Originally aired in the early 70s, the show was a massive hit in its time, but as the years went by, it became the poster child for what not to do when dealing with sensitive issues like race relations. The British Film Institute infamously labeled it as the epitome of racist sitcom. It's hard to argue with that assessment when the show often featured indefensible phrases like spade and sambo. These words, among others, were deemed so harmful that the show hasn't been aired in its home country for years. Even promotion around the series was questionable. According to the 7 Network, Eddie Booth, the white character, lived a very comfortable working-class life until the Reynolds family moved in, disrupting his peaceful existence because they were black. While their intention may have been to make Eddie look like the fool, it's a perspective that doesn't sit well with modern audiences. The show's creators, Vince Powell and Harry Driver, may have thought they were creating something that would, quote, make us laugh a lot and think a lot too, but the consensus today is the show failed at both. Compared with its contemporaries like Till Death Do Us Part, and the scripts for Love Thy Neighbor seem flat and superficial. The British Film Institute even noted the clumsy and gratuitous slanging matches as difficult to comprehend in today's context. But it's not just about the language or the overtly racist jokes. It's also about the stereotypes. The wives are understanding, the men are intolerant, and both sides throw insults at each other. Although Eddie Booth often ends up looking like the fool, the narrative still perpetuates racial stereotypes, making for an uncomfortable watch today. Let's talk about some of the so-called necessary evils. Some argue that shows like Love Thy Neighbor and Mind Your Language were products of their time, perhaps even required to spark discussions about race. After all, this was a period where seeing a black actor in a primetime role was groundbreaking. But does that excuse the derogatory language and harmful stereotypes? The answer seems to be a resounding no from today's standpoint. Here's the kicker. Even today's shows aren't immune from such controversies. Shows like The Simpsons have faced their share of criticisms regarding racial stereotypes. But what sets most modern examples apart is a willingness to evolve and adapt to societal expectations, something Love Thy Neighbor didn't have a chance to do. The show remains a thorny subject, evoking a mixture of nostalgia and disdain. While it may have been a necessary evil that provoked dialogue in its time, most agree that its explicit racial undertones have no place in today's world. Adam Smethurst defends the show to this day. First up, we have Adam Smethurst, the son of actor Jack Smethurst, who portrayed the controversial character Eddie Booth. Adam, himself an actor and filmmaker, has a unique viewpoint that he shared online. Being married to a black woman has influenced his understanding of prejudice and racism on a personal level. In interviews, he openly discusses the impact that his father's role in the sitcom has had on him. According to Adam, the show has generated mixed responses, even within the black community. Some people dislike it for perpetuating racial stereotypes, while others appreciate it for having a bigoted character who serves as the fall guy, thus placing the lens of ridicule on the racist, not the victim. More intriguingly, Adam claims the show does not necessarily divide opinions along ethnic lines. He's heard varied responses to the show that don't neatly fit into any particular racial or ethnic category. He argues each viewpoint is valid and deserves respect. In the broader context, his life experiences have taught him about, quote, the most micro of microaggressions faced by black individuals in predominantly white settings. While he doesn't absolve the show from its controversies, he presents a nuanced take. His story has found support online, with users thanking him for sharing an insightful, genuine perspective. Sir Lenny Henry's defense of the show's racial themes. Sir Lenny Henry, a respected comedian and actor, has recently shed light on why he was a fan of the show despite its apparent racial undertones. He said it was, quote, the only time you saw black people on TV. For many people today, Love Thy Neighbor feels like a dusty old relic from a past filled with stereotyping and crass humor. The show portrayed a racially charged feud between two couples, Eddie Booth and his Caribbean neighbor Bill Reynolds. Critics argue that played a role in reinforcing harmful stereotypes, but Henry presents another angle. Interestingly, Lenny Henry himself had personal experience with the show's impact during his school years. The slurs and phrases used in the show were directed at him, but he still found value in the sitcom. According to Henry, the fact that the show was one of the few that featured black characters on TV during the 1970s carries weight, and at a time when representation was scarce, this was a significant aspect, regardless of the show's overall tone. While some might see this as a twisted form of representation, Henry's perspective shows that the sitcom could serve as a starting point for more inclusive storytelling, albeit in a flawed manner. The show's defenders argue that it was designed to reduce racial friction by highlighting the absurdity of bigotry. Of note is the fact that a reboot in 2007 switched the roles of the central characters but failed to gain traction, perhaps indicating changing attitudes towards the kind of humor the show employed. Linford Christie also defends Love Thy Neighbor. Known for his incredible speed on the track, Linford Christie reminisced about the good times his family had while watching this controversial show. According to Christie, the show was a hit in his household. He explains he and his family found the banter between the central characters hilarious. When asked about the overtly racist terms used in the show, Christie is quick to defend it. He argues that in the context of the time, people didn't watch it through the lens of political correctness, they just enjoyed it for what it was. In a recent interview, the sprinter also mentioned that the show was important for his family because, again, there weren't many shows featuring black actors at the time. When asked if he found the show to be racist, Christie firmly replied, no, not at all. He pointed out that other shows at the time, like the Black and White Minstrels, were arguably more problematic. For Christie and his family, Love Thy Neighbor wasn't just a show. It was a time for them to come together and laugh. Even today, Christie states that if given the chance, he and his dad would still watch the show. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think about the show Love Thy Neighbor? Do you think it was inappropriate and offensive, or a relic that deserves a place in TV history? Let us know in the comments section below.